What's up, No Nation? It's the guys from Plant the Spear. I'm Jesse. That's Michael. And this is our week 12, I think it is, Michael. Week 12 live stream. The season is flying by. And for us, that's not a bad thing. This one is it's coming to a painful end. We have one more home game against Virginia Tech this Saturday night at 7:30 inside Doak Campbell Stadium. I'm excited. I'm going to be there, for the game. I know it's probably they're not good either. So at least you can come into this one and hopefully get a win for your last home game inside Doak Campbell Stadium. It's going to be senior night. It's going to be a night game. Those are always fun. The weather should be good. I'm just excited to get down there, man. But tonight we just wanted to go live. We did not do a post-game show after Florida State's 24-10 loss after Clemson on Saturday. So we wanted to go live. We wanted to kind of talk about some of the few things that we saw in that Clemson game. We're just going to have a general overall conversation about the coaching situation, Mike Norvell's kind of peculiar press conference today. A little bit weird, some of the comments that he made there. So we're going to talk about that. As you guys know, we've talked about the coaching situation for, some time, right? We've talked about this for a little bit. Then we're going to talk about just the remainder of the season. We do have 3 games left on the schedule. We're going to talk a little bit about that, what the end of the season could even mean for this team, given some of the various situations in the coaching thing. And then, of course, we're going to take some comments and some questions from you guys who are listening. So we appreciate that. We've already got a couple of the PTS family, the PTS tribe members in the chat here. And so aloha to Spartan Knoll. Looking forward to seeing him this weekend at the Virginia Tech game. Cannot wait. And Kate says, who's ready for a cold game day at Doak? I can't wait. It's funny, Michael. This is pretty crazy, right? So it is November. And as most of you guys know, I live in the Charlotte area.
Mm-hmm.
It snowed tonight. For whatever sense that makes, we did. Now, it only lasted about 10 minutes, and it was just some flurries. But it did snow here tonight, and it is crazy cold. So talking about a cold game at Doak, that game at NC State next week in Raleigh is supposed to be in the 40s at nighttime. So it's going to be really cold. So definitely got to hit up Alumni Hall when I get to Tallahassee this week to get a new Florida State hoodie. We'll talk about them here in a little bit, but obviously Alumni Hall keeping us stocked here with gear at Plant the Spear. But Michael, we got a lot to get into tonight. Just going to kind of sit back, relax, and kind of have some fun with it with the listeners and everything. And man, looking forward for a live stream tonight.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Listen, we can have some fun. We can laugh. We can lament. We can have therapy together while Florida State is making us drown our sorrows and anything but a win. So it's good to be with all of our PTS fam and you, Jesse, and, just trying to get through this season, locking arms together. Jeez Louise, I can't believe we're back here again. At least we've doubled the wins. We could say that. Hey,
I mean, technically we're climbing, right? Technically we're climbing, and you can't climb unless you got to go up. So we have to start from the bottom. So
that's right.
It's just Mike Norvell's just playing chess, right? He just knows you can't climb unless you start from the bottom. So yeah. That's a funny one, man. But yeah, this is Knoll therapy, right? We're going through this together. We're weathering the storm together. Hi, I'm Jesse, and I'm a Florida State fan. Hi, Jesse. So
hi, Jesse.
We're going through it, man. But we're gonna have fun with it the best we can. Again, 3 more days coming up, and the spring sports are getting ready to kick up. Luke Laux with the basketball program got another win. They're 2-0 to start. They got a big one against Florida next week. That's going to be a tough test for them. Their first tough test, and then of course, baseball season and softball season are right around the corner. So thank goodness for the round ball sports keeping us afloat here. Because man, it's funny when we started this. I started this back in 22, and then Michael joined me in 23, and we talked about how it was great timing that we started when we did, so we didn't have to talk about the Willie Taggart years and the early Mike Norvell era of 2020 and 2021. And we just jumped right on a moving train, man. 10-3 and 13-0 to 13-1. Well, little did we know there was a frying pan to the face coming, and that was 2-10, and now 4-5. So I will say, man, it's painfully hard to keep showing up and talking about this team.
Yeah.
But you know what? We love doing this. We love the people that we do it for, with our members of the tribe and all that stuff, and our PTS family. So we're going to keep doing it. But golly, you're right, man. How did we end up here again? And this is a painful experience. And really, I think when we get into that Clemson game, it was like, okay, you did something for Wake, right? You kind of showed a little bit of sign of life. Maybe we could finish this season strong, which would have been nice. And then you go and you kind of lay an egg up there at Clemson against a very vulnerable Clemson team. Now, you knew it was going to Death Valley. You knew it was nighttime. You knew it wasn't going to be really easy, but that team had lost 6 straight versus Power 4 opponents at home. And, of course, anytime somebody needs a good win on their resume,
right,
here comes Mike Norvell to serve that sucker up on a silver platter. So they go up there and they lose. Man, disappointing there. But, let's get into that Clemson game. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll get into some coaching stuff. But, yeah, man, it's tough to be back here again. And, that I think that Clemson loss was just kind of another salt on the wound. And now you look at a team where it's not surprising that they lost when they've lost 9 road games in a row, when they have not won a road game since 2023. And so now they add on to that. And then you're looking at 2 of your final 3 games are also on the road. And right now you have to win at least 2 of those games to even make a bowl. And so Florida State's got a challenge on its hand, man. And I feel like, I know the season is essentially a wash at this point, but if you're trying to make bowl eligibility, this is a must get on Saturday against Virginia Tech. But let's start with that Clemson game. Give me some overall thoughts on what you saw in that. Just a back to the Florida State we know, man, of mistake here, mistake there, mistake here, opportunities wasted left and right.
Well, let me go back one right before that. And what you said was so important for us to understand. It's absolutely ridiculous, Jesse, that we are right here again. Like the reason why Willie Taggart was fired was because David Colborn and the decision makers said what it looked like on day one, it looked like a year and a half from later.
Yep.
It looked
6 and 6 isn't good enough.
6 and 6 isn't good enough. Okay.
I wish we were 6 and 6.
I would, man. I pray to the good Lord for that.
Hey, give me some walk-ons bowl or whatever. Send me to Shreveport, buddy. I'm ready.
Come on, let's go. We go into the Military Bowl, the Tortito Bowl, the guacamole. We'll go somewhere. Just go bowling. I mean, and the fact of the matter is that then we went 3 and 6, right? And I get pandemic, all like that, whatever.
Yep.
There were other coaches that were hired in the pandemic that didn't have the same access. And I don't know, they did a lot better than we did. So, I mean, I get it. We were a dumpster fire, but Mike threw gas on that dumpster fire. And
we've made a lot of excuses for him in that situation. But the problem is, like, he's used all of those excuses, right? It's like using all your guest passes or something at the theme park. Like, you've used them all, buddy. You're out of excuses.
You ain't got no more.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so then we went 5 and 7, but the excuse we made was when we went 0 and 4, we said, well, he's climbing. Gosh darn it, he's climbing. Look, they won 5 of the last 7 games. Like, oh my gosh, it's so great, right? Great. Okay, fine. Then we went 10 and 3. But do we forget that at one point after 7 games, we were 4 and 3 on a 3-game losing streak. Obviously, we did end up winning all the rest of those games against lesser teams, but we still won those games. They still count, right? And we were on cloud 9. And then, we started the season whooping LSU, or not whooping, but, surviving LSU in the Superdome. We were whooping them. Then we started 23 by whooping them in Orlando. I was there for that game. I remember Brian Kelly thought that it was a home game for Florida State because it practically was. We went undefeated. Obviously, what happened with the snub and all like that stuff. And now what it looked like on that first game against Georgia Tech and Dublin Iron, it still looks like today. Inconsistencies, drop balls, miss blocking assignments, quarterback that can't make right reads or right throws. He's running, but he's not really running. There are so many opportunities where he could have got a first down and he just decided to go out of bounds or slide or just not do whatever. I thought Gus actually called a decent game. I mean, just a wide open wheel route to Pittman, and we just drop it like it's hot potato. Inconsistent assignment, understanding on the defense. Jesse, I'm gonna throw this back to you, but let me just give you the drive chart for this game. This is what ticks me off most about this Clemson game. Okay, first drive, Jalen Lucas drops a key pass that would have got a first down on the game, so we have to punt. Second drive, we drive all the way down to the red zone, not even just the red zone, the goal line ish, and Tommy fumbles the ball. Okay, so that's done. Then on third down, Robinson Deuce has a drop into that drive. On the fourth drive, Pittman drops the ball on that wheel route or rail route. That's over. On the fifth drive, there's an overthrow to Squirrel deep down the seam. That would have been a walk-in touchdown. And he overthrows the ball. And then another drop by Lucas. On the 6th drive, we finally get a touchdown by LaShawn McCoy, LaWayne McCoy, I'm sorry, in the half. On the 7th drive, after the half, we get a really dumb pass to Lucas that wasn't even I don't know why we didn't go for the first down. We tried to throw this deep ball, and then we missed the field goal. On the 8th drive, we get a hands to the face penalty after a blatant missed face mask call. Okay? Ends that drive. Now, on the 9th drive, I wrote all these down because I was so frustrated. We had a 5-yard false start. We had TC waiting too long to run. We had a drop pass by Squirrel. We had a dumb trick play call that didn't work. We had we had a long run or long pass play that was called back on a pass interference. I can't remember who it was on, but it was somebody. Oh, it was on McCoy. And then we had a personal foul on McCoy because he got into a slap fight with somebody else. Right. And then we kicked a field goal. On the 10th drive, we turned it over on downs. And on the final drive, we threw an interception. It goes back to you now.
It's the same old, and the thing is, like Mike Norvell comes into his press conference and says there's a lot of uncharacteristic things that popped up. And maybe for this team in this season, that hasn't always been the case. Some of it has. I mean, you had 13 missed tackles in this game. We've seen that plenty of times for the defense. And I'll talk about them later, but I don't even really think the defense played bad at all outside of the first drive once they settled in a little bit. But, man, it's not uncharacteristic because it basically happened all of last year in 2024. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the drop passes. It's the mistakes. It's the penalties. You had 5 drop passes, a lot of them at key times. You had another kind of questionable 4th down call by Mike Norvell, but obviously the play was there. They just didn't execute it. And it's just been the story of this team this year. It's just a lack of execution. I mean, granted, you have to blame a lot of that on the players, right? We talked about this a little bit before the show, before we came on here, that some of this stuff is on the players, right? They're not coaching them to do this stuff, but you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. And I think one of the good examples of that is when you talk about the LaWayne McCoy situation, where he gets 2 penalties on the same drive and he's still in the game. Like you didn't pull him out or anything. And I understand, I heard his justification for it today. Yeah. He really only talked about the 1 penalty. He didn't mention the 2nd penalty, but again, you're just kind of allowing it at that point. Right. And some of the other things that really killed me in that game, like the one play where, and I'm not really complaining about Tommy too much because he has put his body on the line this year. But the play where he steps out short of the first down on the 2nd and 2 play, where he had room to get the first and just kind of leisurely steps out. And it's like, dude, you're
right there.
Even if you took a hit right there, it's going to be a 15-yard flag. So you could have either got the first down or picked up 15 extra yards with a late hit. And those are just the little things that, like, it's that kind of loser blood mentality in this team where it's like you just find new ways to lose every week, and you have to get over that. I mean, when we talk about the defense, I don't think the defense really played particularly bad outside of that first drive. You gave up 13 plays, 70-something yards. But then other than that, man, you really I thought they played well. I thought they got some stops. They got the short field situation that one time.
Yeah,
that turned into points. They allowed that. That play should have never happened, and it was a trick play, and you had a missed sack and a missed interception on the same play. But they didn't play terrible. But when you go up there as an offense, and this is the offense, like now you think about it, they scored 3 points against Miami in 3 quarters. So that was the first time you went against, a relatively good defense and you looked flat. Then you had the questionable, I don't know what the heck happened at Stanford, because I can't even say that was a good defense where you only scored 13 points there. But then you come back here, man, and you score the same amount of points as North Carolina and Boston College and less than Troy. I mean, Duke put up 46 points on them the week before that. And you go up there and score 10 points on offense. Like, it's just so many of the little mistakes, the drop passes, the penalties, these types of things that just get in the way of this team. I'll have to see if I can find it, but it's something about how Florida State it was a stat about how Florida State has, outgained a lot of their opponents recently, and yet they just can't seem to find a way to win games. Like, you're putting yourself in positions, but you're consistently shooting yourself in the foot. And that's really the frustrating part, right? Is this team is doing enough to win these games. They just can't find a way to win the game. Like, that is the hard part. It's literally like last year, where it was like watching the Bad News Bears. It was just always something. You get down there and it's like, okay, we got a field goal and we miss. Like, can we be bad at everything? Because it sure does seem that way. So I'm going to throw it back to you in just a second, but I want to hit some of these comments real quick. Jeff, we appreciate you. My guy comes in with a super chat here and says, how many games have we got to lose before they fire Mike? Can it get ridiculous? Us fans feel like we're in limbo right now. Yes, and that's the thing. We're going to talk about the coaching situation coming up in a little bit. I don't know, Jeff. I thought it should have happened after Stanford. It didn't. The Wake game I thought was kind of a fool's gold, right? But it was a good win over a decent Wake team who, by the way, just beat Virginia, although Virginia did not have Chandler Morris in that game, so that does help. But at the same time, then you come back and you lose to Clemson. They don't do anything here. And I'll say before we get into that segment, which we'll just put a bow on Clemson first. But before we get into that, I do think that it might actually be the end of the season. And the way Mike Norvell's talking, it might be longer than that. So we'll talk about that here in just a second, man. But we are in limbo. I mean, it just seems like what else? I tweeted this after the game. Like, what else do you need to see? We're doing the comprehensive evaluation thing.
Yeah.
What else do you need to see, man? Yeah. And the thing is, like, I get it. It's Clemson. It's Death Valley. It's nighttime. That's still a very talented team. That's an offense that has started to find its footing. Man, they were 3-5 going into that game or whatever it was. Like, they had lost 6 straight to Power 4 opponents at home, and it hasn't all been like giant killers at home. And so, like, it was one of those, maybe if you win, you don't get a whole lot of credit for it, but losing just looked bad. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part. And it's not like he got blown out in the game. I will say that, but at the same, like, it wasn't as non-competitive as the Miami game felt.
Right.
At the same time, you were never within one score after they went up 18-0. Yep. Once they jumped out to a little bit of lead, that was pretty much it, man. But I'll throw it back to you just real quick here. Spartan says, flying in for the game. If y'all need anything from Hawaii, let me know.
Okay.
I actually did have somebody hit me up with some Kona coffee from Hawaii one time.
Ooh.
Best coffee I've ever had.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then what's up to our guy from the Renegade Fight who is in the comments watching the show. We appreciate you guys. But, yeah, Michael, just give me some final closing thoughts on that Clemson game and just kind of the things you saw. And, again, man, it's just another disappointing loss, but this team has not won a road game since 2023. And so now we're going to ask them to go win 2 of the last 3 on the road. It's just, man, I thought we had a chance to go up there and get Clemson. I really did. The way they played at Wake. And I knew that was kind of fool's gold. I get that. But, man, I thought they would have. I thought they had a chance. And they did have a chance. They had a chance to win that game. And they couldn't find a way to close the deal.
Yeah. See, for me, listen, I get it. Clemson, it's still Clemson. They still, on paper, have more talent than you can dream of in comparison to what you have at Florida State, right? But the talent is not that. It's not like it's a Gulf of Mexico or America, whatever we call it now. It's not like that big thing, okay?
Right.
But there is a talent gap, okay? And it's Death Valley. And surprisingly, I thought that maybe it might be, I don't know, 60 to 70% full. That place looked like it was hopping. I mean, I'm sure there was probably a little bit of corner up there at the top there that might not have been full, but they were hopping. It's a night game. They were ready. It's Florida State. It's Clemson. Just like Dabo said, it's Florida State and Clemson. Like, people showing up for that game. And Clemson came out and got an 8-0 start. Now, here's the thing about the defense. You're right about this. The defense did not play terrible. They didn't play terrible.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they kept Clemson within their scoring margin, right? Clemson's average is 28 points a game. They kept them under their average at 24. The problem for me with the defense, and this is what happened almost in every single game except for the 2 cupcakes, is that you allow a 10-plus play drive to open up the game. You give up a score. Jesse, they gave up 3 drives like that in that game. 3.
Yeah.
Now, the 1 touchdown they got was on the turnover down, so it was a 2-play. It was what it was, okay? But they gave up 3 10-plus play drives, okay? That's one thing. Another thing is you had, brother, my grandma, who, rest in peace, is hanging out with Jesus right now, could have sacked that quarterback at that moment. You gave up a clear sack, and then the ball gets thrown. It's a pick of picks. And you
Your grandma
literally
probably could have picked that one off too.
He could have picked that off and not got pushed, but you just get pushed to the side and the dude just catches the ball. Like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing? Like, that was my problem with the defense. It wasn't more so that they didn't give great effort. I feel like they did about as best as they could in the circumstances they were given. But when you have 3 drives of 10+ plays, and they're just eating the clock over and over, and you're just giving up these little 5, 10. Like, every time he throw these little dig routes, I was like, okay, that's first down. That's first down. That's first down. And so that was my problem with the defense. And just some of, like you said, the coaching, just like, yeah, okay, I get it. The guy slapped McCoy first, but then he slapped back and got you a 15-yard penalty. Like, I don't care.
The second one of the drive.
Exactly. Like, I don't care. He needs to go sit on the bench and stare at an iPad or something for a while, because the bro is costing you the game when the game was still in limbo. And it's just stuff like that that just keeps that. Again, somebody said in the comment, it's just the same old song and dance. We're saying the same things over and over and over and over again. We're in 9 games, right? So you go all the way back to the Georgia game. I know I hate to have to bring that up, but that's an L. So you go back to the Georgia game, right? 2-11 plus the 5 games now and the 4. So we're 6-16, man. And for 22 games, we've been saying the same things.
Yeah.
Again, going back to Willie Taggart, the reason he got fired was because what it looked like in game 1, it looked like a year and a half later. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, I agree. And I think that's where, like, I listened to Mike Norvell's press conference today because there was obviously some interesting comments that came out of it, but I don't listen to him anymore because it's the same song and dance over and over and over. You know, oh, I have this, the belief, and we're going to fix this and all this. Like, man, come on. Like, the whole thing of, well, I'm going to win a championship here and it's going to piss some people off. Like, bro, no one's pissed off because you're winning championships. Dummy,
I love that
we're pissed off because you're not winning championships. Like, if this is golf and the lowest score is the best, man, you'd be winning whatever they win in golf. Like, but listen, dude, this is not what we're supposed to do. Like, you're 15th in the ACC right now. You're 17th in the ACC last year. It's just not good enough, man. And like you said, it's been the same things over and over. And I get a lot of this is on the players. I understand that. But then again, you go back to where who's responsible for bringing in these players? Who's responsible for getting the most out of them and coaching them up and not allowing the things that you're allowing? And how is it that all these other schools seem to be able to go and win with these people? How come these other schools can get more out of less? You know, how come Indiana is number 2 in the country right now with a guy who couldn't get a scholarship in South Florida at quarterback? So he went out to Cal and then he moves over. You know what I mean? Like, how come all these other things happen at other programs and they can't happen here? Which is why when people say, oh, you shouldn't make a change from Mike Norvell because you don't know what you're going to get on the other side of that. Man, damn all that. Like, it doesn't really get worse than what we're doing right now. Like, you're 2-12 in your last 14 ACC games. You've got 2 ACC wins in the past 2 years, 0 road wins in the past 2 years, 3 Power 4 wins in the past 2 years. You lost 9 of the last 10 versus Clemson. Again, you're a bottom feeder in a bad conference. And you also, by the way, lost your top recruit this week in Jay Timmons. So, like, you also losing recruits now, too. And that's not the first decommitment that you've had. Now, you've gained a few, too. But it's just those repeated things, man, where it's like, again, now you're struggling to recruit. And we know that, well, he's been struggling to recruit, but now you're losing those top recruits. And it's like, this is just, it's the same narrative, man. It is the same thing over and over and over. And it makes it harder to see the path to fixing this again. You know, what did he say in his thing today? We fixed it once and we'll fix it again. Like, man, but I'm losing confidence. I don't think you're getting closer to fixing this than you are, you know, ending up back where we currently are. Like, I think when you talk about 22 and 23, you know, the honest conversation is you caught lightning in a bottle to a degree, right? You had some guys who were veterans that you hit on that you did well with, that you struck gold in the portal. A lot of them agreed to come back in 2023 to be a part of something special. You were able to bring in a guy like Keon in the portal. You were able to do all those things. But it feels like the outlier now, man. Like the losing seasons feels like what he is. And so
Yep.
he can stand up there and say all the things as confidently as he can, with your chest out and be like, oh yeah, we're going to fix this thing. And I have whatever the heck he said, elite level of expectations for this program going forward or whatever. I don't know, man. It sounds like it's easy to say. It sounds like he's speaking from someone who has a level of confidence that he's going to be here next year to start with. And I think that's a little bit concerning, right? Or it's going to be like the Magic Johnson thing with the Lakers, where he's like, they're talking about the playoffs and he's like, oh, yeah. I'm not going to be here. Like,
I'm not going to be here.
It might be easy to say he's going to win a championship when he knows he's not going to be here. But man, no, I mean, I agree. It's just the same things over and over and over. And that's why I feel like, when I said this, a week or two ago, where I felt like he's just gotten so far into the mess that it's like he can't find his way back out of the mess that he's created. And so I think there's just so much to unwind. I don't think he's going to be the one to do it. And so I think, it sounds great in the Monday press conference, but it always leads to the same Saturday press conference where it's like, oh, yeah, I have this expectation and I know we're going to do this and I have this plan for FSU. And then on Saturday, it turns into, well, I'm sorry that I lost again. There's a disconnect between Monday and Saturday, and you got to be able to figure that out because we're sick of what's happening on Saturday. Yeah. So we don't care what you say on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Monday through Friday night, it don't matter no more, Mike Norvell. You need to know that. We are done hearing, I believe in what these players are doing. I see it on the practice field. I know what they do. Southern Baptist Mike is not good anymore. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. He didn't fix it, Jesse. I'm going to give you two things that bother me when he says this. He did not fix it because a fix means it ain't broken anymore. It's still broken. It's still broken. All he did was
put a Band-Aid on it or something.
Over it in 22 and another bigger Band-Aid in 23 that gave us the illusion that it was fixed, but it wasn't fixed because the moment adversity hit, at the moment the College Football Playoff Committee told us that Florida State wasn't worthy of it, it all fell apart. And I get it. That is crazy. That's never happened to any other program in the country. I get it. But it shouldn't have broke that fast if it was fixed, right? Number one. The other thing that he says that drives me absolutely crazy is when he says, I know what it's like to win a championship, except for Pitt. I've won a championship. We did it here. Dadgummit, you didn't win a championship. The ACC is a participation trophy. A championship is a national title. Thank you very much. Okay.
And it was funny because I think he said championships, and I wanted to be like, hang on, bro. Hang on the plural now.
Yeah. We got one, bro. We got
the only thing you got multiples of is losing seasons. Let's calm down on all that.
Exactly. You won an ACC championship, okay? An ACC championship, according to the College Football Playoff, is worthless. You didn't win a thing. We win national championships here. We got 3 of them. 3. We got a plethora of ACC championships, bro. Just go through the closet, pick one out, and celebrate it. It don't matter. We got.
It ain't hard to win. Mike Norvell won one.
Thank you. We got 3 national championships. We should have had about 6 more if it wasn't for dadgummit Miami and wide rights and lefts. Okay. When we talk about championships at Florida State, we're talking about the national title, bro. Stop saying no one cares about the title you won at Arizona State or the conference championship you won at Arizona State or the conference championship you won at Memphis. They don't matter. Okay. It's national championships. Jesse, you are what your record is. Okay.
Yeah.
You are what your record is. And if, again, I've said this so much, if this was year 2 or year 3, I have so much grace because there's a lot. I get it. You got year 4 coming. This is year 6, man. Year 6. You have all the resources. You literally, what I just read the other day, you have a football only facility that is literally rivals the best in the NFL. Yeah. You have been given all the resources. You've been given this roster is $20 million. Come on, man. Nah.
You have you've at least had enough resources to win more than what you are, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess ACC championships are a little bit hard to win because the boys down south been trying for a long
That's
time and
true.
haven't won one
That's
yet.
true.
So it
That's
is a
true.
little bit
Yeah,
hard. It is it's a
Miami
little
would
hard.
say, "What are you talking about? That's hard to win."
Easy to win. What you mean? So yeah, sorry, 0-22.
Sorry,
But
guys.
man, again, I think you're right though. Like he almost sounds Dabo-ish, right?
Yeah.
Where Dabo's thing now that they've been bad as well. Look at what I've done. Look at what I've done.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yep.
what I've done and how and recognize how good I am. But the difference is Dabo has 2 national championships under his belt. Dabo
Yeah.
has multiple conference championships under his belt. Mike doesn't have that, man. You have one ACC championship. And granted, it was great that you won it, and you should have gotten to the playoffs. You should have.
You should
But
have.
to say like I know what it looks like and all that type of stuff,
No,
man,
you don't.
no, you don't. And like, if you knew what it looked like, then how come you can't even get? I ain't even gonna say close to that. You can't even have a respectable season. You look back to the lost decade. Like, I understand it was not a great time for Florida State, right? But you at least could go into the season, have some fun, 9 and something, 8 and something, making a bowl game or whatever. Like Mike Norvell, you might know what it looks like to go 13-0, but can you at least know what it looks like to go, 9 wins one season or something like that? Like, stop putting it's like it doesn't have to be hot or not. It doesn't have to be 13 wins or 3. Like we can do that middle of the road stuff for at least every now and then. That's okay.
Yeah.
But no, you're right, man. The standard has to be higher. And he says that he knows he's not meeting it. But man, again, I'm tired of I have a vision and a plan and all that, but I know it's not meeting the standard. It's like, man, if you're saying I know it's not good enough after whatever you're saying, then whatever you're saying, the plan ain't working. And so you gotta try something different. But let me get to a super chat here from Jeff again, where he says, we appreciate that, Jeff. Again, everything that you guys give goes right back into the show. So we appreciate that there from my guy there. And he says, FSU should only have 2 losses, 3 at the most. We should have a winning record, but we don't. Best coaching, you should have your team ready for every game. And I agree, man. That's why I feel like the players own a lot of the responsibility. I do agree with that. I believe in 24, the players just weren't good.
Yep.
But again, I always say it comes back to whose responsibility is it to go get these players, to motivate them, to develop them to where they don't make the mistakes, to where they find ways to win, like plenty of other teams that you see that still play hard, that still go win games. And again, man, I think that is definitely what he's saying is true, where we should probably be 6-2 or something like that right now, or 7-2 or whatever the record. Like,
yeah.
The Virginia thing, okay, maybe your first road loss, short week, double overtime, crazy stuff happened. You had opportunities to win that game. Those things happen, right? One thing I will say this is there is almost like an NFL level of parity in college.
Yeah, there is
now, right? Like you're seeing, and I know Chandler Morse was out, but Wake beats them. You see a couple of other crazy results from around the league, and just what was it? Cal just beat Louisville and things like that. Like, there are some crazy upsets out there, man. But the problem with that is, for me, with Mike Norvell, is like a loss can happen every now and then because of parity, right? But it always happens to Florida State. It always happens to us. We always have the letdown games. Like, it's not this every now and then we get snuck up on and we lose a game. It's we lose a game, then we lose 2 more games. Then we lose 3 more games. Like, and there's always that one ugly one for Mike Norvell, kind of, where it's like, the Jacksonville State loss. Had you not lost to Jacksonville State, you'd have went 6-6 in year 1. You wouldn't have had the FCS loss. Maybe, okay, right? Maybe that wasn't a great season, but it was better than 3-6. Then this year, if it wasn't for Stanford, you probably would have been like, okay, well, it wasn't what we needed to be, but it certainly could have been better.
You're 5-4 right now.
Right. And so that's why I think when you had the opportunity to I almost said it again. It's like a cuss word now. I don't want to say respond. You had an opportunity to pick your sorry butt up off the floor. Let me say it that way. And go beat a Clemson team and build onto some actual momentum that you had after beating Wake Forest. And you wet the bed again. And so it's like every time you have this opportunity to get yourself up off the mat and respond, gosh, stop it. I don't want to hear that word. It's like, man, I'll tell you what. If we get rid of Mike, at least the press conference, I can't wait, man. Like, no offense to Mike. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but the press conferences are like literally like
the worst.
Stabbing your ears out. They are so terrible. I mean, the stuttering and all that. Gosh, it is so tough. Yeah. And so, man, that it's, gosh, I can't wait for that to be over. But no, I mean, you had the opportunity to respond in multiple times, right, with this
Yeah.
team, and you just always keep coming up short. That's what we talked
Yeah.
about earlier in the season about how Mike Norvell always has a hard time stopping the bleeding. It's always one loss turns into two, two into three. That's how he's had all the 4-game losing streaks in like Florida State history. And so that's the hard part because I know we all want him gone, and I don't know because if it didn't happen after Stanford, and it didn't happen after Clemson, we don't know when the plug is actually going to be pulled. We don't know if it's even going to happen this year because it sure does seem like Mike Norvell is talking like a guy that knows he's going to be back, or he's talking like a guy that knows he's about to get a really big payday not to be back. But I think if he is to be back, man, you at least want him to make a bowl, right? Because then you get the extra practices and things like that. But just, man, the deeper this hole gets, there's just no way. There is no way they can bring him back. I don't think they can. He knows that he's lost the fan base. They know that. And by the way, the season ticket renewals came out this week. I'm sure, man, it's a bad time to be a booster rep. Like, as hard as it is to talk about this team as a podcaster, I would hate to be filled in the phone lines for the season ticket renewal. But no, man, I just think it's funny because like I was going to tweet out the other day and I was trying to decide if it was fair or foul to do. But I had the little meme for those of you that are old enough to remember the movie Weekend at Bernie's, where they're just propping up the dead guy all weekend. Like, I feel like that's what it's like when they're rolling Mike Norvell out for another game, like just propping him up, hoping he doesn't fall over and somebody notices. It's just terrible, man. I just don't see how you can bring it back, but there is certainly the outside chance that they do, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's wild to me. It reminds me of like, if you're a fan of The Office, there's an episode where Dunder Mifflin is basically going bankrupt, and they make Michael the regional manager of the year, and he's supposed to go to this conference, but really the conference is to talk to the stakeholders, and so they roll Michael out as kind of the scapegoat for everything. They just keep rolling Norvell out like, bruh, you gonna have to wear these L's. Like, we ain't getting in front of these people. You're going to have to wear these L's. You're going to have to keep talking about what you believe in the response and the climb. And I know the work they put in. I know this, I know this, and you just got to keep doing that till we're ready to fire you. Because, I mean, it's what is the point of all this? Honestly, what is the point? What is the point of rolling him out? Listen, I know you can't hire a coach right now because most of the coaches you probably want to hire will be probably coaching into the bowl season, into the playoff potentially, right? But him, nah. Like, why are we still doing this? Why? Like, the season is, I guess in some ways, Jesse, I can get it because they're like, well, but like it officially isn't. They're still in bowl contention, right? They can only they can literally only lose one more game before they. I mean, they can lose one more game and have 6 losses, and then they can only lose 2 games. I guess they can lose only 2 more games before they are out of bowl contention. So I guess you're trying to see if he can get to a bowl. But why?
Mm-hmm.
Is the bowl the minimum standard for him to get another season? That is ridiculous. Why is that the minimum standard? If he comes back next year, the minimum standard should be 10 wins in a college football playoff. That should be the standard.
Yeah.
This is Florida State.
Yeah. And he knows it's not up to the standard. And that's the hard part. And so it's like, the hard situation that you're in, right, is everybody knows the only reason he's here is because you can't really afford to fire him, right? I mean, if he didn't have the buyout, like if you could wave a magic wand and do away with the buyout or make it $5-10 million, he'd have been gone already. I feel like, for sure. But we know that's the reason. But then again, like, how do you dig yourself out of that hole, right? If you know it's the buyout, you're losing recruits, and now you're trying to sell like a bad program with uncertain job future. Like, that's the hard part, to dig yourself out of this hole. You're going to have to go back to the portal again, which goes back to where this is not a program that's been quote unquote built, right? This is a program that's been thrown together every single season to try and create a team. You're not building a program. And that's where, I understand that the resources at a place like Ohio State and things like that don't necessarily match up with what we have, right? But you have enough to compete in the ACC. But when you look at a team like Ohio State, yes, they do use the portal, right? They went out and got Caleb Downs and some good guys like that. But for the most part, it's a program that's built year over year in recruiting. And that's just not what Mike Norvell has done. So again, you're having to try and sell a plan for the future when you're going to be building things the same way that you've built that's led to the unsuccessful seasons in slapping things together from the portal. Now, yes, you have a better young core nucleus of guys going forward. I feel like that could help build this team. But again, you're also going to lose your entire offensive line, and you're probably going to lose Tommy next year if you even wanted to bring him back. But you're not playing Sperry either because you're trying to maintain his red shirt for whatever reason, where I feel like you should probably be getting him reps for next year. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't see the path to getting fixed. And like you said, if the best you're allowing, you said after Willie Taggart, again, it's season and a half, 6-6 is not good enough. Well, guess what? I'm no mathematician, but 4-5 ain't 6-6 right now. And so I think you're trying to, you're just trying to hope that I think they really did hope that he could make it. Right.
Yeah.
And to a reasonable record to justify keeping him 7-5, 8-4, something like that. I think that's really what they want to do because, you as an athletic director and an athletic staff and all that stuff, you don't want to have $60 million of dead money on the books. Like that looks bad under your tenure, but you can't let this keep going on because it's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run too, when donations wane, when season ticket renewals wane. And again, it's what do we need to see? Well, you've seen enough of it, man. This is going to be probably four losing seasons in 6 years. As one of the commenters points out here, you also have the loss to Duke that broke that record. I was there for that. The loss to Jacksonville State. I was there for that. Went 2-10, and then 63-3 against Georgia. Michael was there for that. So like we've endured some trauma over this.
We have.
That's why we're at null therapy right now.
That's right.
But this is and Lance points out one here that the stage is just too big for him, and I just really think that's the case of what it is, man. Like he might be a great G5 coach. I just don't think he's got what it takes to build a consistent national championship contending program right now. I mean, and that's not to say that we were never rooting against him, right? We always wanted Mike Norvell to succeed at this program, but it's just not working, man. And we have enough proof to show that it's not working, right? I mean, you did the whole coordinator change thing, and it's looked better, but you're still not winning games, right? You locked out the media, which now looks kind of foolish because you did all that to block out the distractions, and you're barely better than you were last year as far as a win-loss record goes. So, man, it's just, again, it's the things that just keep coming over and over and over with this coaching staff, and that it's like, again, I know you made some changes, but it all ultimately falls in Mike Norvell's lap. And so that's why I think, when I talked about this on a Clemson show the other day, where it's like, I think the coordinators have made an improvement, but I think it's going to be a throw the baby out with the bathwater situation. It's like, unfortunately for those guys, they're going to have to go when Mike Norvell goes because those are his guys. And I think it is time to kind of throw everybody out and start with a clean slate. Man, I will say this. I have actually kind of, now that you look at, we can talk about this a little bit too, the landscape of the jobs that are opening with LSU and Auburn and Penn State and all these jobs that are opening up, I'm kind of I'm leaning more towards I might be okay with trying to, taking a chance on a coordinator, because I do think when we talk about this job, right, I do feel like Mike Norvell, there is a slim chance that he will be back next year just from the simple financial aspect point, right? I do think there is that opportunity there. I think if you're going to get rid of him, I think they are probably at least doing some due diligence behind the scenes, right? We've heard plenty of instances from sources that they're at least seeing what can happen, right? What this can look like if they are to make a move. And at this point, man, I would like a guy with head coaching experience and all that stuff. But if you're talking about like a good Power 4 coordinator to step into that role versus maybe a G5 head coach, I'm actually kind of coming around to that, because I think as long as it's someone who can recruit, as long as it's someone who has proven that they can coordinate their side of the ball well and possibly make good hires, then I'm kind of coming along with that, because I think you do need to kind of gamble a little bit to try and find someone that you can afford and someone that also gives you that upside, because like you said, we're trying to make championships here. And when you look back at some of the coordinator hires recently, I mean, Kirby was a guy that came straight from coordinator level to straight to head coach and won 2 national championships. A lot of these guys weren't head coaches before Dan Lanning is a good head coach, and he's a guy that came straight from the coordinator role. So can Florida State go out and identify that person? And with that, chances are you're probably going to have to wait till, at a minimum, like if it's a coordinator, you're probably going to have to wait till minimum of the end of the regular season, right? Maybe a conference title game. If it's a sitting head coach and maybe somebody like not a G5 coach, but like maybe the G5 coach that makes the play, hey, by the way, did you see Ryan Silverfield probably going to Memphis? Mike, guess what, buddy? I know you loved Memphis. Your job is open. You can go right on back.
You go right on
Hey,
back.
if FedEx is their sponsor, you can box them up and ship them right on back, back to Memphis. But
I like that.
I do think, man, that like I definitely think there's some coordinators out there that if you can do your due diligence and you can get them, because if you're getting a sitting head coach that, maybe a G5 head coach that's going to make the playoffs, you'll have to wait on them to finish their season. But I do think from what some of the things have said too about, it's more about getting it right, even if you have to be able to wait. I just, again, the longer you wait, the more skeptical you are that it's actually going to happen. But I do think it has to happen. And I do think I would almost be okay with taking a chance on a coordinator. It's just like I said, when you buy out Mike Norvell, if you make that decision after this year, you're going to be stuck with whoever that is until you get out from under his buyout, which is probably, 2030, 2031. And of course, it is important to mention that Mike Norvell does have the offset language, and he is a young, motivated guy. So I do think he would go out and get a job probably right away, which would help you get out from under that buyout. But yeah, man, I mean, when you talk about some of the potential replacements, I could see a coordinator, because I think most of the coordinators that you found from successful programs, and that's where you have to get it from, right? They have to have a coordinator with good DNA. The ones who have done that have had success at their new program. So I'm open to that a little bit more now than I was before.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about this, and here's the thing for me is I honestly don't want another G5 head coach unless it's the guy from James Madison. And the only reason I think about him is just because, Sig took all their best players, and that bro is still finding ways to win. But even that, I'm still iffy on. I want a P4 coordinator, defensive or offensive. Yeah. Okay. Let's give a defensive coach a shot. I like the guy from Georgia, the Glenn guy. I think he's great. Obviously,
Julian, I love a defensive mind too.
I'd be real nice. I'm a fan. I watched the entirety of that Oregon. Oh gosh, who'd they play? Oregon, Iowa game. It was terrible. Gosh, I hate Iowa. Gosh, I don't know how that dude's still coaching. But I watched the entirety of the game. I love the play calling that he had there. It was very good. He's a really good recruiter, so I like him as a potential option there too as well. I really just think I am open to the conversation around James Franklin. I just think, with James Franklin, he's going to recruit. I like that. But can he win the big game? And let's be real. We can all say, gosh, what we'd kill for 10-win seasons. But would you want 10-win seasons and losing to Miami every year and losing to Florida every year, or losing the big game to Clemson every year and not being able to win the big thing? Like, I don't think you'd want that. And again, your record is your record. That bro is 4-20 something in top 10 games. Like, that's an identity. And so I'm open to the James Franklin thing, but I don't know if that should be your first call. I'm also open to the Jimbo thing. But again, I mean, we can have revisionist history all we want, but like, remember, Jimbo, I read today, and this is from a credible source, Jesse, Jimbo was literally flirting and had a contract in hand for the LSU job on the eve of the national championship game. Let's not forget that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not forget what the man did on his way out and how poor the team was as his time ended. Now he could be better, but that's also a thing. Like, so they like, and I'll throw this back to you on this thought. And I love your thought on this. The problem right now in this coaching carousel is Florida State is in this juxtaposition. There is no guarantee out there that you're not gonna. There's none. I mean, you can go get Lane. You can pay all the money you want. There's still no guarantee he's gonna do it. He's gonna win here big and recruit well. There's no Nick Saban out there. There is a Nick Saban, but I don't think you have enough money for him. There's no, and you'd have to sell your soul to the devil to go get Urban. Though I might be open to that. Not my soul, your soul.
Yeah.
But like, there's just no guarantee out there. But the other side of it is, there is definitely a guarantee that if you keep Mike Norvell, this is what's going to continue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it comes back to the thing where everybody's like, oh, yeah. Well, how's it going to get worse? Or how's it going to get better? You don't know that you can go get someone that's better. Buddy, you gotta work. I mean, you gotta be extra specially bad to do what he's doing at Florida State right now. To lose this many games, like, you got to be putting in extra hours to suck this bad. That's pretty tough. And, Corey here chimes in with a super chat. We appreciate that. Norvella's hot dog water. And I agree, Corey. And I ain't talking about like no ballpark Franks. I'm talking about he is that red hot dog. I dropped it on the floor, it rolled under the cabinet, and then I boiled the dirt off of it type of hot dog water. It's real bad.
With the hair sticking out.
Exactly. Just pick that 5-second rule of that thing right into the pot. That is the type of hot dog water we're dealing with. That's tough. And then Jeff here, we appreciate you, man, coming in with another one there, and says every great coach has won a national title as a coordinator before they were a head coach. And I agree, man. I think that's why there is that mindset that you could really look into getting a guy that, has, I would like it to be someone who comes at least from an elite type of program, right? The Will Stein at Oregon is a guy who has been in an elite level program that I know they haven't won a national championship, but they're really winning consistently out there with Dan Lanning. Obviously, if you could get the guy from Ohio State, the OC, that's another one that's seen it at the highest level, a guy can recruit. So I feel like, there's a little bit of risk because he's a first-year sole play caller, or maybe a second year as a play caller after they brought in Chip Kelly. But I think that's a guy, Glenn Schumann at Georgia. I know there's some questions on the Georgia defense and since, Lanning left. But I think as long as you have a guy that comes from that type of program and has that type of DNA, I think that's going to be just as good as hiring a guy with some head coaching experience, especially if it's at the G5 level. Now, I was in favor of the James Franklin type of name early on because I thought with Mike Norvell, man, the problem again is like we talked about. It's the highs and the lows. It's consistency. It's how it's always been is the problem here is the inconsistency. And so I thought a guy like James Franklin, who could probably come in and win you 9 to 10 games a year, would be a good kind of stabilization hire where you get a high floor, but then you also have the possibility of hitting that kind of higher upside because, again, if he wins 9 or 10 games, chances are you're going to make the playoffs every now and then. Right. You just can't afford to miss on this hire because if you pay that much to get out from underneath Mike Norvell, you're not going to be able to have much wiggle room on the other side. And so that's the thing. Like, you have to be able to make that. So, I do think that I would be on board with getting a proven Power 4 coordinator and a guy who's seen it at the kind of elite level to be able to do that. So, man, we'll see, again, we'll see if they make a move, period. Right. Yeah. I know it's going to be, you're going to probably want to sell something big to this fan base with what you've put us through with Mike Norvell. Right. I don't think you can come in and, I think anybody fresh is going to feel better to Mike Norvell, but I don't know that you're going to go do all this to hire Alex Golesh, right? I think maybe if you were like, okay, we have, what if you get, what's the guy's name from Ohio State? I'm drawing a blank on him again. The offensive coordinator, one that recruits.
Brian Hartline. Yeah.
Brian Hartline. Like, say you get Brian Hartline and you wait around and he goes and wins another national championship with Ohio State. And then you have to wait till the end of the cycle and he comes in and all this. Well, man, you're going to be like, okay, he doesn't have any head coaching experience, but this is a guy that's won back-to-back national championships on that staff. I can get excited about that, right? So I think you just really need to bring some excitement back to this program, and that's a big part of it. And Kilowatts here asked, how do you guys feel about Jimbo coming back? He knows how to recruit the state and brings in elite talent. Just to touch on that, man, like, I don't know. We had this argument before. Jimbo, you either love it or you don't, right? If the college football fairy would let me swap Mike for Jimbo straight up right now, I would take that swap 100% of the time. Because Jimbo didn't have this type of floor. I know he wasn't great at Texas A&M, but I would take that trade. I just also think there are better candidates out there than Jimbo Fisher right now. But man, I mean, there's not a whole lot of coaches floating around that are realistically available that have won a national championship. And Mike Norvell all the time talks about, I know what it looks like. Yeah, you kind of know what it looks like to put together a team that can win an ACC championship, right? Can kind of skate through an ACC championship. Jimbo at least has built a national championship level program. And so that maybe gives him the edge there. But I still do think just some fresh blood would be better for this program in general, man. But I don't think you're going to go out and get the top-notch name, right, with some of the other jobs open. I understand that, but I still don't think that doesn't mean you can't go out and make a good hire if you do your due diligence and maybe you go for that coordinator that is like not at the top of the head coaching pile, but maybe towards the top of the, because LSU and them, they're probably going to want to go get a proven type of coach. They're the ones who's got the money to go make a pass at Lane Kiffin. But there's nothing that says you can't go make a pass at one of the top level coordinators out there. And that could certainly be good enough. And look at all the teams that have had success with that. So, yeah, man, give me some thoughts on that.
Well, first, I want to go back to the Jimbo thing, because I know, for you PTS fans, you've heard Jesse and I go back and forth on this thing. Listen, I don't hate Jimbo. Remember in the summer, Jesse, we were even joking, if Jimbo available, somebody gotta make this phone call, right? For sure. What I don't like is not disingenuous. What I don't like is the revisionist history. Not Jesse, but other fans have acted like Jimbo's the savior of the program. I'm like, no, he ain't the savior. He went to Texas A&M and recruited one of the best recruiting classes in the history of college football and then failed. And I always give him credit to say, well, that class was freshmen. So all the other classes he recruited didn't live up to the talent, but that class you can't really judge him on. If you want to look at that class, look at what Elko's doing right now. That's that class that Jimbo recruited. That's who Elko is winning with. Okay. So that's Jimbo recruited most of that class right now. Okay. Now they've got some transfers, stuff like that, but you got to give Jimbo credit for what they're doing right now in the smallest bit, at least because he's recruiting. So if Florida State, if the coaches decide, or if the power broker said, no, we want Jimbo, we're going to give him another chance, I'm going to be excited, at least from a recruiting standpoint. I don't think he's lost his fastball with the recruiting. Where I would be deeply concerned at is he bought in fully to what Florida State is now? Or are we going to have to worry again that we get a little bit of success and that bro is going to be floating his name for an SEC program again? Yeah. Okay. That's what my problem is. When you are messing with a job on the eve of a national championship game, that worries me. That's one. Two, when we talk about the thing that makes me mad about the conversation about the Florida State job, if it ever comes open, is it's not a quality job, it's not a high profile job and stuff like that. And Jesse and I have had conversations in our private text thread about, it may not be the top job out there, but bro, you're talking about a historical, iconic, to use Mike Norvell's word, iconic brand. Has won 3 national championships, 3 Heisman Trophy, have a plethora of All-Americans and NFL first-round draft picks, top 3 draft picks, a plethora of award winners. I mean, he's one of the fastest. We have the shortest amount of years playing football, but one of the greatest amount of history and tradition and everything. I mean, you're in literally the top high school recruiting fertile grounds in the country. You have top 15 resourcing. Let's just be real. It may not be top 5, but you have top 15. Right now, you have one of the easiest paths to the playoffs through the ACC. Let's just be real. This is a crappy conference. If you're any amount of a decent coach, you should be sniffing the door of the playoff every year in the ACC, right? This is an attractive job. Now, that doesn't mean that other coaches who are telling these other people that, oh yeah, I would like to be considered at Florida State, they're not using this, that they're using this as a leverage. Oh, for sure. You remember when Florida, after they fired Jim McElwain, and the coaches kept turning them down and down and down and down and down because they were leveraging the job to try to get a better raise at where they're currently at. And then they end up selling for who? Billy Napier, right? And we saw what happened with Sunbelt Billy. Well, Florida State rushed into the hire with Willie Taggart, and then took their time and let coaches play them, and they ended up with Mike Norvell, which I know Thrasher said it was his first choice. I don't believe that. I don't believe it was their first choice. I believe they actually went after Bob Stoops, and Bob told them no, right? And then they had to settle. Again, this is one of the top jobs in the country. I would say top 10 for sure, okay? You're going to be able to attract some of the best names to at least have the conversation with. They're going to have the open door. I mean, you call Nick Saban right now, and I guarantee take your call. I mean, he'll say yes, but it's Florida State. They're going to listen, okay? You
you
have
got to get
to.
Miss Terry on that side, right? You've seen the video where he's
Yeah.
like, they
Yep.
bring the cake out and she's like, sit up. And
Sit
he's
up.
like, okay, I'm up, I'm up. So if you
Yeah.
can just convince her, she'll be like, Nick, go save Florida State. And he'll be like, all right, fine. I'm coming out of retirement.
I'd offer him 15 million. I'd offer her 15 million. Listen, we're putting
Exactly.
all our resources into this, right?
Exactly.
So all I'm saying is it's an attractable job if it comes open. The thing
Yeah.
is, Jesse, I think I've come to this point. This is a question. I'll throw this back to you. You tell me if this is a good question or not. Do you want to be Florida State, or just do you want to be a school in the state of Florida? Because if you want to be a school in the
Yeah.
state of Florida, like the UCFs and the USFs and all like that stuff, like FAU and all like that, then okay, like keep Mike Norvell, whatever. But if you want to be Florida State,
Yeah.
man, you got to start acting like it.
I agree. And I mean, that's the thing. Like when you hear the statement that they released is like, we have that standard here and whatever, and everything that's been built from the people before this. If you want to be the program that you say you are, if you want to be the program that just spent $400 million on facility upgrades and all the things that you're doing, you can't keep Mike Norvell. And I understand, like, you look at the program in South Florida. And, thank goodness they want to keep Mario around. I don't think they want to now, but thank goodness they're keeping him around.
Yeah.
Because, right now, like, Miami has an opportunity to put a chokehold on the state. The thing is, Mario's just not good enough to do it. So at least there's that's keeping them from running away. But still, they're got more NIL resources than you do. You look at Florida, they're looking at probably making a big swing type of hire at a Lane Kiffin or something like that. And you're just going to keep kind of rolling Mike Norvell out there. And again, man, I think it is a good job. Like, is it the top job in the country? No, we can admit that, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of you do drag around the boat anchor of the ACC. Like, you do have that. And I think, side note, that's one of the things that's most frustrating about this season is, like, the ACC is sitting there on a silver platter for the taking, right? There is really no dominant team this year. Like, all you had to do was not wet the bed in the ACC, and you probably make it to Charlotte this year. And we really just kind of screwed the pooch on that.
Yep.
And so, again, man, I think that's one of the things that makes it so frustrating. But this is one of the best jobs in the country because of the resources that they are willing to put into the football. I mean, Mike Norvell does make $10 million a year. You did just build the facility. You did just upgrade the stadium. You did rearrange things in the ACC through litigation that give you more money, that allow you to get out of this conference in the future. Like you said, at the end of the day, there is also the side of things where it's kind of a little bit easier to win here than some of the other big jobs. You go back to the Jimbo conversation and you look at what he did out at Texas A&M. Man, they were playing a murderer's row schedule in the SEC West when the SEC West was the SEC West. And then you look at, they had Clemson as a national title contender in 2 of their years out there out of conference. I think any coach who's worth their salt could come to a place like Florida State and win games. I mean, this is outside of this one outlier year where Clemson has been terrible under Dabo Swinney. This goes back to my Clemson theory that I talk about all the time, where they have more talent and just a higher level of commitment to resources than everyone in the ACC, not named Florida State and Miami.
Yep.
And so when you do that, even a bad season like last year, they win the conference and they make the playoffs. So if you were just a halfway decent coach, which is where I at least think that Jimbo Fisher would be from a recruiting standpoint and the things that he's done, I think he is somebody who could come in here and win games in the ACC. I mean, like I said, man, you got to be a special kind of bad to do what Mike Norvell's doing at Florida State with the resources and the location and all that type of stuff that you had. You got to be a special kind of suck to be this bad at Florida State. And so I really do think that this is a good job out there. And B Bean one asked, where would you rank FSU? Top 10, top 20? I think
top 10.
I put them in top 10. I put a top 10, right? I'm not going to put a top 5 when you talk about every job in the country, but not every job in the country is open right now, right? The ones you're competing with, I think LSU is a better job than you. Penn State could be arguable because of, they're in the Big Ten, but you also have the Florida aspect. Right. Auburn is a tough one. They're in the SEC, but you got the Florida aspect again. You got kind of the easier path. Now you also have to look at the committee is basically telling the ACC that they don't matter. Once again, we already know that happened. That conversation started in 23. So there is that. But I think you crazy if you act like this program would not attract a big name or at least a top name coordinator. Like, it might feel like a dumpster fire, but I promise you, if you offer a head coaching job to the guy from Ohio State, to the guy from Georgia, to the guy from Oregon, they're probably going to jump on that. I mean, from a coordinator position, you could probably get your choice of the best coordinators out there. Now, I do want to address one thing, Michael, that I have seen here in the comments is just some people asking on where we would be from an NFL type of hire, like a Brian Daboll, who was just fired from the Giants, kind of has the Alabama connection, former offensive coordinator. You also have a couple of other guys from the NFL ranks, like the John Gruden's been a name that's been floated out there. Man, I have nothing against the NFL style coach, but I think you would have to do a completely different approach if you were going to do that, right? I think that would be when you have to look at bringing in a GM to basically run the program and have them be that coach, right? For me to take a chance on an NFL hire, I need what's been the biggest knock with Mike Norvell is recruiting. And so, like, I love John Gruden as a motivator, right? But you got to be able to go get players on the roster, right?
Right.
I think, like, again, man, the guy from Ohio State, I don't know why I keep drawing a blank on his name, but Brian Hartline. But, like, so if I'm weighing an NFL guy and I'm weighing Brian Hartline, right? Like, he has been in the college game. Maybe your NFL coach has been in the college game. Maybe he hasn't. But at least I know Brian Hartline comes with an elite recruiting history, at least at the receiver position, and a development history. So that, to me, I'm not opposed to that. I just also say I would rather go get a Power 4, kind of a proven coordinator before I would go with an NFL type of head coach. Now, I'll let you offer some thoughts on that. But I just wanted this one real quick here. Jeff comes in again. We appreciate him chiming in with the super chat. Thanks again there, Jeff. It's not just Bobby Bowden. He started, of course. It's proven we can even talk about Bobby. Jimbo did it for a small, short of time. Norvell for one season. So we know we can get the right coach. We can win here. And I'm glad Jeff brought that up because that was a point that I wanted to make, right, on top of that. When we were talking about the gravity of this job and how big it is, I think you saw a couple things, right? The pre-Bobby Bowden era is almost a different conversation because Bobby did put this program on the map, right? And it's a totally different game back then. But Bobby builds this program, 2 national championships, played in, I think, 5, could have won more, should have probably won more. But then you look at even Jimbo comes in, and they had been separated from a national title, for a good decade by the time he took over, right? And so then in a short amount of time, in just a matter of 3 years, he builds a national championship contender here. And so, or a winner here, and then, goes back to the playoffs in 2014. So you see the ability of how fast, and this is why I say, I think you got to move on from Mike Norvell, because I think regardless of how the game has changed, regardless of how things are right now, you can win here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jimbo that fast turned it into a national title contender. Even Mike Norvell took over in a worse situation than Jimbo did. And still, within a matter of 3 to 4 years or whatever it was, 3 years, he still was able to turn that into what we know should have made the playoffs, a playoff contender team. And so the problem is he just hasn't been consistent. Like, even when Jimbo wasn't good, he was still winning 9 and 10 games. That was the difference with Jimbo. No one would be pissed at Mike Norvell if he could just, in the years you're not winning 10 to 13 games, you're not winning 3 to 4 or 2.
Yeah.
Like, if you could just have a 7 to 8 win basement, a floor, and then winning the ACC and competing for a championship every other 2 to 3 years or something like that. Because we understand it's hard to do that every single year. I get that. And we don't have the resources that the Ohio States and things like that. I see people talking about that in the comments. We don't have that type of money. But man, again, I just think to Jeff's point, like, I think when you bring it up that Jimbo built this into it, it's when you can do this. It's when you have repeatable results with different head coaches that shows you the potential of the program. And I think that's what stands for Florida State, because, again, we talked about it like when we talked about Jimbo, right? And the Texas A&M thing. No one has ever won at Texas A&M, and they have all the resources in the world, and no one can win there. Now, Elko's on a mission to win it all this year. Oregon, another program with all the resources in the world,
haven't won it.
That haven't won anything. And so I definitely think that is one of the main differences with Florida State. Is I hate to even call it a sleeping giant, but it kind of, Mike Norvell put this thing in a chokehold, so it is asleep right now. Like, Mike Norvell is trying to keep this job down. Like, I don't know. But man, I do think if you get a good hire Florida State can be turned around so fast and can be right back into contention of things within a few years. A lot of that is the commitment that they have, and and then the location that it is, and the conference that you play in. All those things go in combined to show you that when you've been able to get those results from multiple coaches, I think it just would take one good hire to get this right. You just kind of had a confluence of events at the end of Jimbo's era to the Willie Taggart era into the beginning of Mike Norvell, where things just weren't built sustainably. And that's kind of what's led us to where we're at. But man, you get someone in here who can win consistently and recruit the right way, this program can be built back into a national power in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So during there was a quote by Japanese Admiral I'm gonna say this wrong, Isoruko Yamamoto. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Right before the Japanese went to bomb Pearl Harbor, okay. After they did that, he was quoted in saying, because my algorithm is all World War II right now, so I've been like watching.
You're going through that phase, huh?
I'm going through that phase. It's really good.
Every guy has it.
Every guy has it. But he said, and I held on to this quote. He said, "I fear all we've done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." Okay, like America was not ready to go to war. They didn't want to go to war. And then they bombed Pearl Harbor, and we woke up, and we went swinging for the fences, boy. We were ready to wreck somebody. That's Florida State. You get the right coach in there, and you awaken a true sleeping giant. I mean, again, yes, Bobby won in a different era of college football. Should have had probably about 6 national titles. Okay.
Yeah.
Jimbo, if we don't freaking screw up a loss at NC State, we probably didn't beat Florida, and we probably play for the national title there. We win the 13 title, and if we just cared a little bit to play a little bit of defense, we would have won in 14 as well too. Okay.
Yeah, if Jeremy Pruitt's still there, you win in 14.
Oh my gosh, you definitely win in 14, right? So the point is that Florida State can win at Florida State. You can win national titles. You can win Heisman trophies. You can get All-Americans. You can get first-round draft picks. It can be a machine that takes care of itself. Ohio State has to work insanely hard to keep that machine going because they don't have a natural recruiting bread. They got resources for sure, but they don't have a natural recruiting hotbed as Florida does. Okay.
Yeah.
Programs like even Alabama has to work extremely hard because they're not developing all the kind of talent that you're developing in the state of Florida, in your backyard, literally at schools across from your university. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is a sleeping giant. And if you can get the right coach in who understands that and can recruit his tail off, and he can surround himself with competent coordinators and position coaches and staff and auxiliary staff and all like that, and get a really good general manager and get a really good grasp on how to pay and set the market for NIL and all those things, and just be innovative in that. This could be a thing where you're waking up just and you're not going. You remember when we talked about this. You remember when we used to like wake up on a Saturday and it wasn't if we were going to win, it was how much we were going to win by. I miss those days. That could be Florida State if you can find the right coach.
Yeah. Back when, on Saturdays, hell was coming with us. Not when Saturdays were hell for us. That's pretty much what it's turned into.
That's so true.
True. And Kelsey here said that Ohio does produce some talent. And that's true. I mean, you have some Midwestern talent. Like, I would take some Midwestern beef up on this
offensive line. Let's go.
Let's get the hog truck up there to Iowa and send some of them boys down here to Florida. But no, man, I think it's just, again, you're right. Like, when you're having to convince those kids, that's why you have a $30 million roster, because you got to convince them kids to come up to Ohio. They're in your backyard. And there was a time where you put a fence around the state and you locked it down. And that's where the talent didn't leave. That's why you're seeing Jeremiah Smith end up at Ohio State, because there's just no attraction here. I know there was the argument before, we're like, oh, maybe if we paid the money. Yeah, man, the money's great, but like you're not developing NFL wide receivers. You're not playing in the playoffs. And like those are the things that other schools are able to offer them. And so until you can do that, it's going to be hard to keep talent in your own state. But like you said, if you have a guy like a Brian Hartline who can come in and can be that splash recruiter and can be a developer and can make these good hires and you put your resources behind him, then yeah, I think you can get to the point where you can win a lot of these games, man. I think where you can win with the resources and in the situation that you are. And then if you go to another conference in the future, then this ain't it. Like if you can't win in the AC, unless we go to the SEC, because Mike Norvell has that figured out.
Yeah,
Apparently,
if we
I
go to
don't
the
understand what
SEC,
that's all
we
about.
win in national titles.
We're a playoff team in the SEC. I really don't understand that. But as far as the ACC goes, man, again, like yeah, this you can win here, and this is a good job. And Mike Norvell, it's bewildering how hard it is for him because again, man, and the thing is, I wanted to make this point too, and then we'll talk about kind of the remainder of the season as we run the show over an hour here. I don't want to run too long, but the thing is too, when you talk about this program and being in the ACC, it is also not the 14 playoff anymore, right? Where you can say, yeah, I know it's hard because you do have the ACC factor, and if you win, you still aren't guaranteed to get in. That's not the case anymore with the 12-team playoff, right? You can at least get that auto bid that would help you get into the playoffs as an automatic lock. And then let's be honest, the room for error is slim, right? You're going to have to win. You're going to have to probably go 11-1 or 11-2 and lose in the championship or whatever the case may be. To be able to make the playoffs as a non-ACC champion, you don't have the room for error that some of these other teams have in the other two conferences. But if you're a one-loss ACC, you're just a loss in the ACC championship and you're not the ACC champion, you'll still probably get in, right? So that I think that's the big thing there is you can still make the playoffs in this league. It's you're not a 3 and 4 bid league like the Power 2. You're a 1 and 2 bid league. But how hard is it to grab those bids? That's always been my question. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is everyone talks about, if you're in the SEC and you're competing against 20 teams that are, a lot of them are the best teams in college football versus the ACC, you should be able to finish top 2 in the ACC dang near every year. And you just about did, even back when you were locked in the Atlantic division with Clemson, where if you'd have been under the current format, how many ACC championship games did you probably miss where they let in like a Georgia Tech, a Duke or whatever? Miami's over there floundering in the Coastal, couldn't win the division or won at one time and then lost by 5 touchdowns in the ACC championship game. So, just got to get a dagger out a little bit there. So yeah, man, I mean, and that's the thing is you can win here, right? Yep. You can win here. And so it's just the fact that Mike Norvell can't is the most head scratching thing. And it's not even that when we say you can win, I don't always mean like winning a championship. You can do that here too.
Right.
It's bewildering how you go 2-10 and 4-5 and all that type of stuff. That's the thing I don't understand. And just say real quick hi to Miss Lisa who just joined. She is one of the PTS tribe members. Michael, I got to do my duty. It has been an hour and 15 minutes, and I have not mentioned. Oh, I did early in the opener, but this show is brought to you by Alumni Hall. So let me do my job real quick and pay the bills here for our good friends over there at Alumni Hall. And look, if you guys are going to be at that Virginia Tech game, make sure you check them out. It is a great location there, 1415 Timber Lane Road in Tallahassee. They got a big store with lots of awesome FSU merchandise. Michael, I'm going to go down there and I'm probably going to get me a basketball shirt this weekend. I'm going to get me a baseball shirt this weekend. There are plenty of other good sports to support around Florida State, and they have all kinds of stuff that you can do that. You can also shop online at alumnihall.com, navigate over to the Florida State page, and make sure you save 10% with code SPEAR. You can do that online or in store. Just tell them we sent you. We appreciate you guys supporting those that support us. Also, if you are going to be at the Virginia Tech game, make sure we're going to be doing kind of a low-key tailgate with a friend of ours, my guy Ronnie. I want to give a shout out to him. He has adopted us into his extended family, and so we greatly appreciate that. So we're going to be hanging out with him. Then I'm going to go see my friends over in Lot 12 with Unconquered Tailgating, who we are partnering with for a big tailgate at NC State in Raleigh the following week. So if you are going to be on the road, and look, we got to stick together for that one, because you know how those NC State fans are. We got to stick together for that one. So we're going to have a big tailgate in the front row of the stadium. We'll be right across the street there in the stadium parking lot. So make sure you follow us on social media so you can be part of that. It's in the stadium west lot for the NC State game. So make sure you check those things out. Also, like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. We would love to hit 3,000 subscribers. Maybe we can have more subscribers than wins this year. Who knows, Michael? We're trying to push, but we would appreciate that. Rate and review on the podcast. And also, you can join the PTS tribe. It's $5 a month, and it helps support the channel, and everything goes back into it. So, yeah, man, really looking forward to this weekend being back in Tallahassee. Even if it's, even last year when it came down to the Florida game, it was like, I'm just going in with no expectations in this, but I always love being in Doak at nighttime. So there's at least that. Our guy, Rock and Roll, says to make the move FSU, we need it. We definitely do. I agree with that. And I can't wait to see our guy Spartano on Saturday at Doak. He's coming all the way over from Hawaii. I can't wait to see you there, my friend. And then the Renegade fight, he will be seeing us at the NC State game. So again, make sure you're can't wait for that. Make sure you're following us so you can check out the details on that. But Michael, let's talk about the rest of the season as we get ready to kind of wrap this thing up. Let's spend a few minutes on that because there are still 3 games left. And so what does the end of the season even mean for Florida State? What can we do here, right? You got at home against a Virginia Tech team who is 3-6 on the season. Then you go to NC State, who's had a really up and down season, right? They beat a Virginia team. They lost to this Virginia Tech team somehow, which is insane. They're not great, but they're certainly good enough to beat you. And then you got a 3-6 Florida team who, buddy, the wheels came off and they went and we thought we were bad, man. And the crazy thing is they played really hard against Georgia, and I thought they had the upset in hand there. And then they got the break speed off of them. DJ Lagway got benched against Kentucky. Woo, man. So I think you have a real opportunity to make a bowl game here at a minimum. And let me just at least say this. Let me preface this whole ending conversation with this, right? We all want Mike Norvell to be fired. We all want a change at head coach. We just spent the last half an hour talking about it. That also doesn't mean I don't want them to win some games, right? I know it's hard to have both of these things happen at the same time, right? I understand that. And I understand there are a lot of you guys that want us to lose out in order to that to happen. And I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to tell you how to fan or anything like that. But I do want this team to win some games. Mostly because I'm 1-5 in my last 6 games that I've been to in person for Florida State over the last 2 years. And I'm going to be at the next 2. So, Mike, throw your boy a bone. I'd like to see a win.
It'd be nice.
Right? Golly. But yeah, man. So when you talk about the rest of the season, you get that Virginia Tech team, you get that NC State team, then you get that Florida team. I think it's nearly impossible to do anything to bring you back into good graces if you're Mike Norvell, right? Because you should have beat the Clemson team. You should have never lost to Stanford. You did good against Wake, but you kind of killed that momentum whenever you lost to Clemson. Now you're going to be, you're going to play 3 teams that aren't very good.
Yeah.
And the thing is, man, when we talk about this Virginia Tech team, you're talking about 3-6 coming in. You're a 13.5 point favorite. Their scoring offense is ranked 91st. Their scoring defense is ranked 102nd. You should win this game. You're at home. And the thing that I find funny about this is if you're playing a team, and this is the case for 2 of your last 3 games, if you're playing a team that doesn't have a coach, they have an interim coach, and you make $10 million to be the coach. If you lose to a team without a coach, well, what purpose do you serve as a coach if you're Mike Norvell? So if you lose either one, so you're telling me that a rudderless ship, a coachless football team could beat you, then I think that's one where it's like, okay, well, what are we doing with our coach here? Like, apparently we'd be better off if we didn't have one. So I think you have to get a couple of wins in these last couple of games, especially being that they're under interim staffs here. But man, I think if you're Mike Norvell and you're hoping to have any chance to come back next year, you need to win at least 2 of these last 3 games so you can get bowl eligible, so you can get the extra 15 or so practices or whatever it is, and you can get an opportunity to play that one last game to kind of start getting guys ready for next year. I don't think that's enough to save his job, man. I really don't. I don't care if you win these games 48-0. I just don't think it's enough to save his job. But I think that's the hope if you're Mike Norvell, is to at least win 2 out of the last 3 and make a bowl to get some extra practices and things like that. And then at the same time, if you're just a Florida State fan in general, you just want a couple of wins, man. That's really all I want. Like, I just want a couple of wins. I want both things to be true. As you say, 2 things can be true. I want Mike Norvell to be fired, and I would like to win at least 2 of the last 3 games of the season, just because, man, I really would like something good to talk about. That would be nice about now, and making the trip all the way to those games. But you got a bunch of bad teams to finish the season.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, I don't think it's enough to save him, because you've missed the train. You've missed your opportunities. You had that at Clemson. You had that at Stanford, and you've dug the hole so deep now that, beating these teams is like trying to fill in that hole with a spoon for a shovel, right?
Yeah.
You dug the hole with a shovel. Now you're trying to get out of it with a spoon, and it's just not going to be enough. But I mean, you got to play the games. You got to line them up, and so you should win some of these games. And that starts with Virginia Tech, who's not very good and coming in with an interim staff. So, man, you got to get this win on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, yeah, like I say, my wife says it all the time. Two things can be true at the same time. I want them to win in the worst way possible. I'd rather watch a win or I'd rather gouge my eyes out metaphorically than to watch them lose again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want them to win. And I also want a new coach that's going to recruit, that's going to develop from within, that's going to actually have a coherent Saturday. I mean, Mike is not as bad as the dude down south with who apparently needs to wear like another shirt or something. I don't know what's going on there, but
Training bra.
Yeah, you said it. I didn't. Okay.
You got a Chuck Amato look going on. If
he really does have a Chuck Amato going on.
Yeah.
He also needs to just go ahead and hire like a coach who makes decisions for him, because he just
exactly.
It's ridiculous. But anyways, I want them to win. Okay. Mike Norvell is a competent coach who probably should be coaching at the G5 level. So come on, man. Let's finish out. Let's just win out. Right? Let's just go ahead and win out. Let's beat Virginia Tech at home. I don't know what to do about the NC State game. They're 4-1 at home. We hardly ever win there. Whatever. But we cannot go to Gainesville and lose against Billy Gonzalez and a rudderless ship. They literally benched DJ Lagway. They got whooped by a terrible Kentucky team. Now, we're terrible too, but they got whooped by a freshman, not just a freshman. I mean, we got beat by a true freshman too. Just let's not forget that at Pitt.
Yeah.
But this dude is fresh, and he threw all over them. He beat them like he was beating out his rug that had dirt on it. I mean, he was taking them to town. Okay, we can't be going in there looking all porous and stuff. I don't care if it's a rivalry game or not. You cannot lose that game. Okay.
Yeah.
We probably will, but I'm just saying
we will.
You can't lose that game.
Yeah. Mike Norvell will find a way.
He will find a way. You know what Mike does? You know what Mike should start saying? He should start saying, I know what losing looks like. Okay. We've done it here at the highest level. We've done it here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what he should start saying.
Yeah, we climbed. We climbed the ladder from Timu. And then when we got to the top, the rung broke and we smacked our face the entire way down. That's the hard part. We climbing Timu ladders around here.
That's right.
It's tough. But no, man, I agree. I mean, again, you talk about this Virginia Tech team. You got Kyron Drones, who's a mobile quarterback coming in. And the crazy thing is, so like they did get blown out by Old Dominion. They got blown out, early when Brent Pry was there. They got blown out by Vandy. Who turns out to be pretty good. They got blown out by Old Dominion, which was pretty crazy. Then they make the change, and since then, I mean, they blew out Wofford. That's nothing to talk about. But they did beat NC State in Carter Finley, and they did lose to Wake Forest, but it was a close game. They lost by 15 to Georgia Tech, who's a good team. They beat Cal in double overtime, who just beat Louisville. And they only lost to Louisville by 12. So this is a team that they've not given up, even under an interim staff. And, the thing you talk about Florida, like Florida got their brakes beat off of them. But at least you haven't been blown out like that yet. Yeah. So at least you're still hanging in games. And that's why I say, like, I'm not confident when we lost to Stanford. I was not confident we were going to win another game this season. But with that being said, the way that you're still at least in a lot of these games, I think you can put yourself in a position to win. It's just the hard part is you just, again, 2 of your last 3 are coming on the road. 3 of your last 4 after the Wake game, we're on the road, and you haven't won a road game in 2 years. Right. But if you don't beat Virginia Tech at home, because Virginia Tech is not good outside of Blacksburg, if you do not beat them at home, I think you're going to lose the last 2 games, even with as bad as Florida has looked. Because they have been better at home, right? Florida State is 4-2 at home. They could be 5-2. That's not terrible, but you got to get this win, or else it's gonna be really bad, man. Because Virginia Tech is a bad team coming to your place, the last one at night. you have got to beat them. I mean, this is a team that got blown out by Old Dominion, but again, they haven't given up. So if you give up, they're going to beat you. And one comment that I do want to say here by Vaughn, where he talks about, I'm tired of other teams doing a war chant. Like,
you so right.
100%. I think that is one of the most frustrating things really about just the last few years, other than 23 and a little bit of 22. Man, I'm so tired. Like, it started with Virginia Tech and the Willie Taggart era. And you've heard it ever since then. Like, everyone mocks, the UNC kicker did it. The NC State guy, Bradley Chubb, spits on your logo. Like, all of these disrespectful moments. And, the most Mike Norvell did was run out there and tell Billy to, get off my field or whatever. Get off my field.
Yeah,
but like,
he put that finger in that face real fast.
For real. It's like, man, if you'd have shown that type of fight for the last 60 minutes, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation now.
Right.
But I agree, man. I think more than anything, Michael, is I'm just tired of this program getting embarrassed on national television from not even being in the conversation about the playoffs, but being one of the laughing stops of football. Like, every single week when you're talking about like the national talking heads or game day, and who cares what they talk about, man? But it's more the fact that you come into the conversation of like, what is wrong with them? How do they keep being this bad? You're always the worst team on Saturday. You always look like the most unprepared, unwell coached, just bad news bears of a football team every single Saturday. And it's like, man, I'm not saying we got to go on a run of 8 national championships in a row, which it would be nice. But you gotta stop looking like just an abject disaster every single week. And you've had the opportunity to win so many games. And man, I think it just comes back to with Mike Norvell. It's like, why are we having to fix it again? Why are we having to start over again 6 years into a tenure?
Yep.
And it should have looked better than what it did this year, because you had the fix in. You still went out to the portal and you still brought in all these guys. You still brought in all these coordinators, and it still really didn't look much better. So, man, just as really as we do some final thoughts here, man, in this episode, for me, it's just I'm just tired of this program not being given held up to the standard that has been set here, right? The things where, okay, we're trying to compete for championships. We're spending the money on the facilities. We're doing all these things, but you're also tolerating a coach who's not holding up the standard. It's like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. And I understand that's a really, really big check to write to get him to go away, and nobody wants to do that. But to me, spending $400 million on facilities while continuing to field this product, remodeling the stadium so you can get more fans to show up, and then putting this product on the field so no one shows up. It's like cutting off your nose in spite of your face, right? Like, what are you doing, man? This is not how you get that maximum return on investment. Like, you'll pack it out for the Savannah Bananas when they show up, but you got the freaking Savannah Bananas playing out there every Saturday, because that's what we look like. We might as well be doing TikTok dances and playing on stilts and all kinds of stuff, because we ain't playing good anyway. And so, you know what I mean? Like, maybe we're just playing like we're running on some banana. We're playing like the Savannah Bananas. But man, at least they win some games. But I think at the end of the day, man, if you're Mike Norvell, you got to find a way to at least win 2 of the last 3, right? You got to find a way to make bowl eligibility. I still think he should get fired. I think if he doesn't win 2 of the last 3, I think he will get fired. What scares me the most, Michael, and I'll throw it back to you on this, is that if he does find a way to win 2 of the last 3, or even 3 of the last 3, and he goes 7-5 or 7-6 or whatever the case may be, if you win the bowl game, that they are going to keep him. So I just hope that Florida State is doing their due diligence in the background right now, maybe vetting all of the things that they can do to at least having all their options on the table at the end of the season. But man, for me personally, as a fan and a podcaster that talks about this team, I just want to win, because I just want to talk about a win, basically. I just want to see a win in person, because right now it's kind of like a unicorn, man. Like, I know it exists, but it's been so long since I've seen it, I forgot what it feels like. So I would just like that. Like, it feels like we stormed the field at Alabama 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It really does, man.
It really,
so,
man.
I hope we get some wins, and I hope we get a new coach.
Gosh, you're right. It does feel like we were kids when we stormed the field.
It really,
it really feels like that. Here's my thing, man.
Which, by the way, what a season, man.
Oh,
we were standing on the field after that Alabama game, like, bro, this is what it's going to feel like when we storm the field for a home playoff game when we went on our way back to the Natty.
Yes.
So now, like, I'm ready to storm the field and give Mike a 2-piece.
Just run up to him, just, sorry about that, Mike. Take that on
I'm
your
gonna
way
get
out.
tased, but it's gonna be worth it.
It's gonna be worth it. Yeah, for sure, man. The thing, gosh, my final thoughts are, it's just ridiculous. I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of instead of waking up on Saturday morning thinking about how much we're going to win. I'm sick and tired of waking up every Saturday morning thinking, how is Florida State going to lose this game? Like, that's literally my thought going into every Saturday for the last, 20 something games. How is Florida State going to screw it up this time?
Yeah.
Right? That's just,
man, ain't that battle?
Ain't that battle? You know what? Yep, knew that was happening. Yep, knew that. I mean, how many times I text you? Look, what I tell you. Look at that. Oh my!
Here goes another Saturday.
Here goes another Saturday. Just like, I'm just sick of that. I'm just tired of that.
Yeah.
And as fans who invest, not just us, you guys, PTS, all the fans out there who invest millions upon millions of dollars, and they're asking for, I just got my renewal email the other day. I texted you, I said, you believe them sons of guns sent me a renewal email? Like, they just acting like this season didn't happen, For
real. I'm doing my comprehensive assessment right now, whether I want to renew or not. That's what I'm going to reply. I'm doing a comprehensive assessment on my season tickets.
You're like, dear rep person, I am doing a comprehensive assessment of my season ticket renewal, and I will get back to you at the end of the season.
Exactly.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to send that now. But we are paying millions of dollars, not just for tickets, not just for merch, not just for food, but for NIL as well, too. And this is the ROI we're getting. This is the ROI. At some point, Director Alford, at some point, Board of Trustees Peter Collin, at some point, President McCullough, you have to look at the ROI and say, we've given it 6 seasons. This is not good enough. Remember, and I'll go back to this. This is my last thought. I'll go back to the quote I began this episode show on. You told Willie Taggart, you told him, or at least you told us, 6-6 is not good enough at Florida State. It looked like what it looked like now is what it looked like at the beginning. Okay, great. Look at the first game of Mike Norvell's career here at Florida State. And then look at against Georgia Tech, by the way. They had no business losing that game. We still had enough talent to win that game. And the quarterback you told you didn't want came in your house and whooped you and beat you, okay? And then look what happened at Stanford. Look what happened at against Penn. Look what happened against Clemson. It looks the exact same. Enough is enough. This is not good enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? And again, I think you even go back farther than Willie Taggart. 7-6 wasn't good enough to save Bobby Bowden. Rest his soul, the one that built the program.
Exactly.
They forced him out for that. And now you're putting up with this for Mike Norvell, who's done what for you other than basically rob you of a bunch of money?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be better. It's just got to be better. I mean, again, you're preach the standard, but then you don't hold it up.
Exactly.
And I think that's the hard part. And, like we always say, man, I don't think like fan emotion should always control the outcome of a coach, right? But we have seen the data. We've seen enough of the data on the field and off the field and recruiting and all that stuff that this is not necessarily going to work.
We've done our own comprehensive assessment.
We have done a comprehensive assessment, and it's not been good. And I think the thing that I'm trying to get at with this is you shouldn't necessarily base your decisions off fan emotions, right? But at the same time, in the modern era of college football, where your fans are essentially your shareholders of a company that needs money to be able to compete in its industry, and when you're paying these players, which now allows them to be open for criticism and things like that, I think at some point you have to give those shareholders a pound of flesh, right? Like you have an angry mob right now that wants a pound of flesh. And again, I don't think it's always smart to make your decisions based on that. But when these are the people who are directly funding all these projects that you're trying to do, these are the people who are funding the ability to get players to get out of this hole. These are the ones that are going to pay for the long-term good of the program. I know it's expensive to make the change, But at some point, I think if you want any excitement amongst your shareholders, your investors, if that's a better way to look at it than even fans, than calling it fans, if these are your investors and your shareholders that keep this business afloat, because let's face it, it is a business and results matter. And so I think at some point you have to give them a pound of flesh to make them happy, to get the money to flow back into this program. Because, again, man, if you're a CEO and you lost money in the company, like out of 6 years, you lost money 4 years out of 6, and they're giving you the resources to succeed, they would fire that person. If you removed the names and the emotions and all that stuff, man, I definitely, again, I feel like it's got to be better. And at some point, you just have to rip the Band-Aid off. It's going to be expensive either way. You just have to rip the Band-Aid off and make this change. Because like you said, man, if nothing else, it's just tiring. Like, I just want Saturdays to be fun again. And when you ask people to invest what they do in these programs, everybody knows Tallahassee's hard to get to. I drive 7 hours one way to go to home games. Like, man, it takes a lot to get in the car and know you're about to drive 7 hours one way to go see a 4-5 football team or a 2-11 team like I did for the Florida game last year. It takes a lot to want to do that, but that's where we're at. And so hopefully Florida State can get better, man. Hopefully they can win at least 2 of the last 3, and then we still end up with a new coach because we know that's pretty much what we all want anyway. So that's going to do it, guys. Again, we just really appreciate y'all coming and hanging out. We wanted to go live with you on this Monday now that we had some time. We're going to come back with a Virginia Tech preview. I know there's not a whole lot of excitement around that game, but we're still going to take a look at it because it is the last one in Doak. It is the last one at home. So, man, we're going to talk about that game coming up later this week. I got a couple guest spots on some Virginia Tech pods, so maybe we can get one of them to come on here as well. So, man, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and rocking with us. I know we ran a little late and a little bit long tonight on this Monday night, but we just love, this was a therapy session, man. It felt good. Like, I ain't gonna lie. The as bad as we've been, I have to almost sometimes drag myself on here to talk about this team, but I do it because I like talking with you, Michael. I like talking with our listeners. I like having everybody get in on the conversation. We really appreciate everybody who dropped a super chat tonight, Jeff, as well, man. We really appreciate that because, again, it helps keep the show going. So like and subscribe on YouTube. If it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, doesn't sign you up for anything. It would greatly help the channel reach other Nole fans. We would really appreciate that. You might think you're subscribed and you're not, so just double check that. We'd appreciate it. A rate and review on the podcast wherever you listen to helps us reach other Nole fans as well. Make sure you check out Alumni Hall, and we will catch you guys on the next one. As always, go Noles.